Wow, that was the first time I've walked up to music like that before. That really gets you lifted. Good afternoon, MadFest London. It's so exciting to be here. We're going to talk about some pretty interesting things today. It really kind of gets me excited every single day in the work that I'm doing. But before that, quick 5 questions. What are we going to talk about today, right? First, who are we, right? It should probably tell you why we're here, why I flew over from Washington, D.C. late last night to get here. What is Reddit Recommends? Why my kids are on a slide today. What does this all have to do with Reddit, and what does this specifically mean for you guys? And bonus points if you tweet at my office at Brandwatch and tell them I'm doing a good job or a bad job. I like to panic them as well,
Terrible
which
job.
is always great.
Terrible job. Keep them humble. Keep
Yeah,
them humble.
tell them whatever you want. It's always fun. Anyways, like I said, my name is Andrew Dawson. I'm Brandwatch's industry principal when it comes to social networks and special projects. What does that mean? Well, after about half a decade of working at Publicis doing social intelligence, I came in-house at Brandwatch to run our top 1% clients. And those are the ones that are just asking more from us every single day. So that means I get to work with amazing teams at Reddit every day. I get to work with teams at TikTok and Meta and Twitter. And it allows Brandwatch to have a very unique perspective on the way we perceive the role of social networks in the world. And I'm always so humbled to be joined by incredible people like Marissa Bell.
My name is Marissa Bell. I'm one of those people asking those hard questions of Andrew and his wonderful team. I run all of our international and marketing insights at Reddit. So really all the things that our communities care about on the platform and who they are and why that matters to all of you.
Before we get started, I think it's really important for us to ground ourselves in social listening. Show of hands really quickly, who here is familiar with social listening, how it operates?
Good.
We're going to say 50%, right? But for those of you who aren't so familiar, data comes in 3 ways, right? And this could not be more poignant, right? We're seeing this all across the media. We're seeing this all across the news from all the social networks. It comes in 3 ways, right? First way comes in is through API. We work with incredible social networks like Reddit and Twitter to bring in the data, bring in the full fire hose, take everything with us. Second way is through crawled data. That's where you're seeing in the news pop up right now. That's why Elon has rate limits, right? Like we are trying to figure out how to get the best from websites whenever possible. The final way is first party, right? Do you have call center data? Do you have email data? Do you have chatbot data? Bring it in the system and apply that NLP. All, by the way, I was told by my marketing team, in GDPR compliant manner. Apparently that's extremely important to underscore on stage. So what does that mean for someone like Brandwatch, right? We pull in 100 million sources. Like Twitter is one of those sources. Reddit is another one of those sources.
The most important source, I would argue, out of them all, even an arrow to underscore that.
Yeah, is Reddit, right? We're here to talk about Reddit today. It's really specific because it's really the talk of the town, right? Everyone is trying to make sense of Reddit. Marissa and I had a great opportunity last year to speak at Social Media Week here in London and talk about what Reddit was, how you really could understand it. But really now we're talking about what can marketers get out of it, what can advertisers get out of it, how can you make the most out of Reddit today, right? And the interesting thing about all of this is that it could all be done today, right? There's nothing in here that you have to wait for. There's no roadmap coming. There's no more in store. This could all be done and actioned immediately for brands across the world, big and small. So before we get started, right, Reddit has this Reddit Recommends, right, which is really kind of your go-to-market recently. Can you tell everyone who's maybe unfamiliar, like what a Reddit Recommend is?
So hot off the press as I can, a few weeks ago, we debuted Reddit Recommends, which is essentially the idea that every second there are 2 recommendations being shared on the Reddit platform. And each one of those recommendations is getting 19 responses in turn. And if you think about that more holistically, this week alone, there's going to be 950,000 recommendations shared. So there's an incredible wealth of knowledge in terms of these various recommendations from products all the way to various behaviors as well.
Yeah, and that's really an important takeaway for everyone here, is that people are out there exploring your brands, exploring your industries, just exploring in general, right? And they have communities built up around them. They join as small as 70 people, as big as 7 million people, and they're asking questions. I'm going to give you one real example of how this impacted me in my life. This is my family. This is my wife, Allie. My daughter made me promise I would say her name. This is my daughter, Indy, and my son, Poe. They're pretty awesome. And why are they on a slide? Can anybody here guess what the average age in Washington, D.C. is to have a child? Yell it out. right? It's 35. I had a child when I was 26. I had never even seen a child before. I think even when I was a kid, I didn't realize I was a kid, right? Kids were like a foreign idea to me. I had never in my life held a baby before I held my son. I can't believe someone just like handed me a baby like a time bomb. He's like, he's yours now. But weird enough, a doctor handed me a baby, and there I was. And it was complex, right? I knew nobody who was even in a relationship, let alone married, let alone with children. I tried to talk to my dad. My dad's like, I didn't change any diapers. He's like, I can't tell you what to do, where to go, who to talk to. And like that left me in a very vulnerable place, right? I had no one in my community to talk to. I couldn't even talk to my boss about it because his kids were like 25 at the time. I couldn't talk to my dad about it. Couldn't talk to anybody I knew. And so what did I do? I turned to Reddit, right? Reddit allowed me to find my community of dads and ask really important questions. I'm going to give you one extremely graphic, real-life example of how this came in handy. Very young-looking room, and I'm not sure if everyone's as up on their butt pastes as they need to be with kids, but diaper rash is real, and kids get grumpy. And I didn't know who to talk to, right? If you go to CVS, they're like, go to aisle 7, and I'm like, aisle 7 has got 80 options, right? And so what I did is I went to Daddit, right, a community for dads on Reddit, and I opened up a thread, and I asked a question, hey guys, my kid won't sleep. Like, what do I do? And someone said, Bordeaux butt paste, right? And then all of a sudden, 18 more people said Bordeaux butt paste. And you know what I don't do? I don't leave my house ever without Bordeaux butt paste anymore. My kids are 4 and 6, and I still don't leave without it. The whole point is that I was lost in this chaos state of confusion and aggravation and irritation, and I didn't know, and it was really getting me, and I came with intention to Reddit to ask that question. I found that community, and I was engaged, but that's not unique to me in my experience.
If you think about Reddit overall, there are over 100,000 different communities, from Daddit to science, which is peer-reviewed journals, to popheads, to gardening, and we're really the #1 social media platform when it comes to community and belonging. And with over 500 million monthly visitors globally, people are coming to the platform every single day, whether that's niche tarot cards to butt paste, or specifically for me, air purifiers at some point. These people are experts in the realm of what they're interested in, and they're sharing these opinions and firsthand experiences across the entire platform, across multiple different industries.
Yeah, that's right. The first time we were dreaming up this talk track, I was talking to the global brand ambassador, a guy named Will Cady, over at Reddit. I was like, what are you getting into these days, man? He's like, 70s Japanese jazz. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, 70s Japanese jazz. There's a community for that. For me, that's a community I belong to, and I can go there and get records because there's experts in that field in that room. So I said, why don't we spend some time, let's look at it, right? So what we did is we partnered with Reddit. As one of Reddit's official partners, we're able to take the fire hose, crack it back, really get into it, and suss out some details. So we look into 5 different recommended threads: skincare, tools, things like that. And we went through 100,000 posts. What this whole presentation has helped me do is to kind of tease you with the idea that you need to go read the entire guide. So get your cameras ready. Ready? Go read the whole guide. We're going to go through the top 5 things I learned from it, but I really suggest everyone goes read the guide. It's really incredible, and if you don't, the person who wrote it gets fired. So preserve their job. That would be awesome. But if you don't have time to go read it, here are the 5 things that I found most fascinating about it, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk through a few of them right now. Right? Biffle and the use of language. People helping people. Focus grooves driving trust. Customers craving to be heard. Right? Really to be heard. Like, that's such a trope now to say, like, listen to your customers. But if brands were doing it, we wouldn't have to say it, right? And then finally, intention. So we'd love to go through one of these one by one and have Marissa kind of give her opinion, right? So number 1, what is Biffle? And why does Biffle matter?
Biffle means buy it for life. So there is a subreddit that is called Buy It for Life, where you have millions of people who are within this subreddit or community talking about various products that they have purchased that have lasted them a lifetime. And the whole reason why this is important is there's specific language, there's specific nuance, kind of social norms within these different communities that they are using to talk about these various products, where they're getting into the nitty-gritty, where they're getting into the details, or getting into the comparisons. And you have millions of people coming every day to find products that will last them their entire life across the spectrum of various industries.
I mean, think about it this way, right? We've all talked to our parents, right? And they're just like speaking in a different language we don't really understand, or we talk to kids, or we talk to teenagers, and they're speaking their own language. They have their own vernacular, right? We need to treat consumers in much the same fashion. If we are not speaking and conversing in the same ways they are, right, then we're just way off base. We come off like completely out of touch with their world, their reality, and their needs. And kind of Biffle, as one example in the guide, there's just thousands of different things people say every single day that helps allude to their purchasing behaviors and what really matters to them in their consumption. So if Reddit is all about, people helping people, right, where can brands get involved in that kind of conversation?
Let's use skincare as a great example of that. You are in 30-plus skincare, and you have a community of people who are truly engaged, and they are experts within this field. They are sharing back and forth recommendations of all of the different ingredients within the different products that you can buy. Brands should meet them where they're at. These are people who want all the details. They want more information. Don't just come in with your brand awareness. Come in with the experts that you have. The scientists who are creating your ingredients, bring them into these subreddits of 30-plus skincare to talk about the ingredients. Bring in the experts to talk to the consumer experts. That's really where the Reddit recommendations thrive, is by that peer-to-peer experts and meeting together within these communities, and brands meeting them where they're already at is where we found the most success.
Yeah, and what I think this is like completely, a great way to explain this is like, think about Hamburger U, right? It's McDonald's training university. Do you know how much money McDonald's spends every single year on experts, right? They have the experts in the space, right? If people are asking questions about fast food, right, or fast casuals or things like that, leverage your brand's expertise. Leverage the voices inside your brands. Sometimes consumers don't want to hear from brands. They want to hear the experts behind them. They want to know why the science was there for skincare. Why is it eco-conscious? Why is it good for my skin, right? Bring in the experts to those conversations, and don't be afraid to leverage the tens of thousands of dollars they spent on a PhD, right? Like, those guys are the experts. Let's leverage them more. So why do focus groups, right, we're thinking about this, right? You're saying the average thread gets 19 responses. Why do focus groups drive more trust?
If you're thinking about all of the different communities that we have on Reddit, as you were saying before, the niche, all the way from our movies, which is, of course, a very, very large subreddit on the platform, all the way down into sci-fi horror. There's a really special thing that you can find on the platform, which is the niche expertise that you're finding in some of these smaller subreddits that are bringing very detailed niche recommendations in the context of those interests. And that's really where Reddit is thriving. If you're looking for sci-fi horror films all the way to was it John Lennon tarot cards?
Yeah.
It's
David Bowie tarot cards.
David Bowie tarot cards. It's the magic in the specificity of these communities and the experts that you find within these niche communities that are bringing those recommendations to life for anyone, whether that's on Google that they found themselves on Reddit, or within the platform to then find those recommendations in those niche communities.
Yeah, they are the experts in every field, right? Because they have found their community, and they've found their thread for their community, and they're sitting there having conversations, interacting, right? And whether you like it or not, they're talking about your brands, right? So you need to kind of leverage their focused trust.
The next speaker hasn't turned up yet, so please continue.
There we go.
Perfect.
Leverage their trust and build relationships on their backs, right? We are working with our communities. We're not working against them. So what takeaways can brands utilize from what they're learning from these recommends?
As someone who's been in the social listening space, arguably, either maybe longer than you have, the biggest thing, and harkening back to the first point, is how are people talking about these various recommendations? How brands can look at this is within these various threads, people are, again, getting into the nitty-gritty, getting into the specificity of it. That as a brand, you can not only understand everything that someone hates or loves about your product, but as well as their competitors. And is it the quality of how it's made? Is it how it fits into their daily routines? People are really listing all of the various ways in which they are using that product or why that product is right for them. And brands, through social listening and through Brandwatch, you can understand all of the reasons why someone is recommending you rather than in a shorter character string, maybe different social media platform where maybe they're just going to say, I like this retinol. While on Reddit, they're going to say, I like this retinol because of this specific ingredient and this type of packaging, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to pontificate on all the various things that they like about that product, and that's what makes Reddit so illuminating for brands. All these conversations are already on the platform. They are already happening every single day.
And they're giving you all the tools you need, right? They're allowing you to categorize the exact interests of your customers. They're being very clear, concise. They're saying, this is why I like it, this is why I don't like it, here are the things you should think about it. It helps with not only advertising and communications, but product development. Finally,
one note beyond is also, we're talking a lot about how people are writing about things. There's also our upvote, downvote mechanism where, yes, you may have X amount of mentions on this particular recommendation, but then you can see how many people within those communities are upvoting that sentiment, who agree with this recommendation. And that is really bringing that idea and that recommendation to life across the platform. So you have both the mentions and the upvote sentiment attached to these various recommendations.
Excellent. Finally, before we get tackled off the stage, why does intention matter, right? We keep thinking about the idea that people are coming and asking these questions. Why does intention matter? Why is it unique with Reddit?
Reddit is all about intent. People are on Reddit looking, specifically, I'll use my air purifier example, they're on Reddit to make a decision, to make that purchase. We are all about the lower funnel of the conversion. People are on here whether they want to spend $1,000 on a laptop or $200 on headphones or $100 on their retinol. They are here on Reddit to convert, to make that purchase decision rather than more on the awareness side. So we're really seeing a lot of that conversion of this person has found this, I'm going to continue to use a retinol example, this $150 retinol that a bunch of people are raving about in the plus 30 skincare. And then not only that, they've taken this recommendation from the platform that hundreds of other people have used before, and then they come back onto these subreddits to then talk about their great experience or possibly not great experience that they had with that particular product. So we're seeing kind of a full circle from the conversion into the advocacy of those different products.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's the biggest takeaway, I think, from this entire thing, right, is the idea that you don't doom scroll Reddit, right? You're not just sitting there. You can't accidentally find yourself in a subreddit. You are there with intention. You are seeking out a community for very specific reasons. As marketers, we can make sense of that for advertising, for development, for communications, for the way we engage with brands, right? It really is the fruit of all information sources, right? You don't go on there just because you generally dislike a brand and just kind of post about it, or it's something that pops up in your life. If you're talking about a brand, it generally means that you have direct interaction with it. You either like it, you don't like it, and you want to engage with a community to advocate for or against it.
And even if you think about, these communities are centered around passions, or centered around interests. If you're an audiophile and you are recommending a specific headphone, you are very invested in that interaction. There's the full intention is there, and that's where we're really finding of these groups of experts who are incredibly passionate about what they're talking about, and that translates into the long-form recommendations that they are giving to the platform.
Awesome. So without further ado, those who didn't take the camera, take it, check out the guide. It's incredible. We're going to be here for the rest of the day answering questions. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, everyone.